Greetings and salutations to Sir Mustafa. Today, our group will be presenting our Auditing 2 group presentation titled Tyco International Limited. So, let's get to know our group members.
Hi, sir. My name is Liyana Firdaous, and my place number is UDE 210096.
Greetings, sir. My name is Waheeda Binti Siswadi, and my matrix number is UDE 210097.
Hi sir, my name is Panikker and I like Yugendran and my matrix number is UDE 210128.
Hi sir, my name is Sofea Binti Shazalizan and my matrix number is UDE 210124.
Hi sir, my name is Tay Hsue Li and the matrix number is UBE 210127.
Hello, sir. My name is Tengku Muneer, and my matrix number is UDE 210129. So, let's take a look at the contents of our presentation. First off, we're going to start with an introduction. Second, we're going to continue with the summarization of the company's or person's situation, including a synopsis of the relevant internal control problems or what may seem lacking in the internal control process and procedures. Third, we'll continue with the internal control system problems and recommendations on how to solve them. Fourth, we'll provide cases related to the fraud triangle. And lastly, we'll end our presentation with the conclusion. So first, let's start off with the introduction.
So Tyco International is a multi-facet manufacturing and service firm with five primary operating divisions. Electronic is one of the world's largest suppliers of electronic components with a leading position in the passive and electronic components. Tyco Fire and Security is the world leader in the design, manufacture, installation, monitoring, and service of the detection, protection, and suppression system, as well as electronic security services. Tyco International was reported on a criminal investigation, which included income tax, transportation, and an escape sale tax over $1 million. Reason found that poorly company's internal controls and procedures were implemented, and also perform unethical tasks such as changing the financial report which can lead to fraud, so it is clearly the organization is unethical.
Moving on with the company's situation, and on 1960, Tyco International was established by Arthur Rosenberg as a research laboratory that relates with the United States government and later on changes into a manufacturing industrial product. The scandals begins in 2002 by the former CEO and the chairman, which is Dennis Kolowski. They were involved in the corruption by the top management, which has leading to the CEO resignation, which is Dennis Kolowski. At that time, it was revealed that the large profit was because of the fraud and also accounting tricks. The criminal cases was investigated, and the Tyco CEO, which and the Tyco CEO that and the Tyco CEO, which include income tax, transportation, and also escape from the sales tax over $1 million. In June 17, 2005, the jury resulted on the second trial that the company scandal was received in a conviction that everyone except for one of the 30 counts leveled against them. However, it is possible for them to be jailed as many as 25 years in the state level incarceration. Nevertheless, CEO of the Tyco, Dennis Kolowski, received a minimum 8 years and 4 months of jail time in a maximum of 25 years sentence possible. Besides, it has been discovered that the management of Tyco used their employees to perform unethical tasks such as changing the financial report, which can lead to fraud. Therefore, it is still unnoticeable because the management has a full control of the organization that can lead to fraud cases. For instance, the executive management has stolen close to $600 for their personal gains. Mo- it, That's all for me. I will move to the next person, which is Munaweer.
Thank you, Shaz. Now I will continue with the factors C that may indicate Tyco International's control process did not seem lacking, as well as the procedures. So, one of the factors seen that may indicate that Tyco's internal control process did seem lacking was the fact that it took a number of years for the falsified documents and tax appropriation committed by the higher-ups of the company to finally be detected by the respected authorities in charge of handling these misuse of funds. One of the main reasons these misdeeds were found in the first place was due to the careless spending of those who had received the copious amounts of money given to them through dishonest means. An example of this careless spending was when Denis Kozłowski used the company's money to purchase a $6,000 shower curtain, as well as a sum of $6 billion in order to decorate his apartment in New York. Due to these actions, the authorities were able to connect the dots between the company's plundering funds and the actions of the company's higher-ups. This shows that the higher-ups purposefully used the company's services for their own gain without prioritizing the interest of their own corporation. Aside from that, another factor which may suggest that the internal controls of the company seemed lacking was the fact that Denis Kozłowski, with other higher-ups of the company, were able to indulge themselves in illegal financial transactions for so long without the company's auditing firm, PricewaterhouseCoopers, taking notice. This shows that it's not only the corrupt owners at fault, but the auditing firms at fault, for not exercising enough diligence in order to maintain a robust internal control environment and not following the proper procedures when checking the company's financial statements well enough. If the firm were more involved in their duty of monitoring the company's progress by ensuring the company's financial reports weren't missing any crucial details, such as making sure that the recorded acquisition transactions were correctly stated, whether the acquisition transactions were properly classified, and whether the recorded acquisitions and services received were made with the best interest of the company. Perhaps the entire ordeal could have been uncovered much sooner with much fewer losses to the company if this happened. Lastly, another factor which may indicate towards the internal controls and procedures process of the company, which seemed to be lacking, was due to how weakly implemented the company's internal controls and procedures actually were. The main reason these instances occurred in the first place was due to the internal controls and procedures not being properly enforced by the company themselves. If said controls were enforced and strengthened, none of this would have happened in the first place, and the company would not have taken such a sudden dive in the company's finances. If the internal controls and procedures were managed responsibly by those in charge of them within the company, the scandal itself would have been avoided, and corruption amongst the higher-ups in said company would have not occurred.
So now I will be presenting the internal control problems and our another group members party will be presenting the recommendation to the internal control problems. So the first one will be the management overriding internal control. Based on this scenario, we can know that high-level management, which include the CEO, Denis Kozlowski, had overridden internal control as he had tried to transfer the money to his personal account. In addition, Denis Kozlowski had overridden internal controls as he had inflated the operating income of the company. By right, he should not interfere the accounting activities.
The recommendation for this problem is the company should practice the segregation of duty inside the management level. Another person should be employed to monitor all the board directors so that they did not interfere with the internal management. There should be a division of responsibility for each of element which is authorizing and initiating the transaction, the physical custody and the control asset involved, and lastly for the recording of the transaction of the financial in the company.
So, the second internal control problem is inadequate approval and documentation of important transactions. There is an unauthorized free loan obtained by the CEO. he has authorized $19.4 million in debt forgiveness for himself. It is incorrect that the people who borrow the loan and the people who approve the loan are in the same person. So there should be other chosen person to approve and sign for the transaction. The free interest or the low interest is given to accused and never approved by the Tyco board. So, the internal control is not strict enough in approval progress while approving those unreasonable funds to the employee.
Should be carried out so that correct monetary value are recorded and checked to avoid falsified financial statements. For example, to avoid and tackle business risks such as fraud, the company should monitor the actual to budgeted the revenue and the expenses.
So, for the third internal control problem stated in is inadequate policies and procedure in the company. The employer has forced the employee to resign without justice and in improper ways. For example, Dennis Kozlowski had dismissed a worker called David, who is a short teller due to giving a negative review of Tyco. In this case, Dennis Kozlowski dismissed his employee without a solid reason. He was not following the policies and procedure in discharging the employees, as he fired them without evaluating and seeing their actual work performance.
Thus, to overcome this, the employer should treat the employee with respect because the employee is the core of an organization. A healthy culture in the company should be encouraged. For an example, an entity should be provided a suitable reason and notice to employer before the discharge of the employee.
So, the fourth internal control problem is aggressive accounting and improper auditing by the auditor. Richard Scalzo has violated many accounting policies, including representing the wrong financial standpoint of the company, and he usually accepts the argument from the Tyco manager without carrying out any substantive tests. In addition, Scalzo was colluded with high management level to hide the money they swindled. This causes loss to the Tyco company and harms other stakeholder interests.
To solve this, the internal control component that they can use is control activities. To reduce the risk of fraud, management should create a control measure. The risks that have been recognized as impeding the attainment of objectives can be detected, prevented, and reduced through control activities. Other than that, they also need the arithmetical and accounting control where it includes in the checking the arithmetic accuracy of the record.
So, for the last internal control system problem is failure of monitoring Tyco International daily operation activities that caused by the human error. The board of directors do not take any investigation on Kozlowski and it damaged the company's profit. The entire of director board was swept out by the CEO and changed with his own people, which have the high authority on operating, finance, and daily transactions. Such environment was unfairness and injustice when it comes to the decision-making and voting period. It is too late to save the company due to there was a billion loss caused to the Tyco company due to there is a lack of monitoring on the daily operation activities and there was no corrective action taken in the early stage.
And lastly, the recommendation for this problem is using the control environment component of the internal control. Control environment are the set of standard, procedure, and organizational framework that serve as the foundation for implementing the internal control throughout an organization. where the board of directors and the middle level management should set the tone for the company. For example, the expected standard conduct for the top of the organization. Also, the most important one is the person who involved in the internal management have to be ethical and have moral values so that all the regulation that has been stated are followed very strictly. Now let's move on to the next slide.
So, so now I would like to relate back the cases to the fraud triangle. As we all know that fraud is an international deceptive action designed to provide the perpetrator with an unlawful gain to deny a right to a victim. Types of fraud include tax fraud, credit fraud, wire fraud, securities fraud, and bankruptcy fraud. Fraud cases could occur when there are three elements that allow it to happen. Among those elements are pressure, some risk of opportunity, and some method rationals, and fraud has not been contradictory with one's value. As example in these cases, fraud happen when they are having explained and manipulating the value of entry statements. However, the situation of fraud in this company worsens when this company also has an internal auditor who is not trustworthy, namely Richard Felson, who has given an opinion on the risk to be faced and arbitrarily accept the management's opinion on the reviewed financial without making a substantive test and not report it to the audit committee. That's where fraud can be identified through discussion between management and staff. Due to such reasons, staff who have knowledge of the existence of fraud committed by the management will be fired to hide fraudulent activities. On the other hand, Mercedes took his opportunity. Tyco CEO himself, with his many Kozlowski, has paid a loan from the company of $62 million, but then he only returned the payment amount, about $22 million. But he thinks that the remaining value is considered to be forgiven and does not need to be paid back because he thinks that if he is the one who does that, there will be no legal action that will be imposed on him because he is the owner of the company is because he himself approved and gave the loan to himself without the confirmation of someone who had been entrusted to do so. Last but not least, is based on the attitudes and rationalization which that the members in the board of directors are full of CEOs person. Those workers help CEO commit in fraud. They are afraid if they do not do so, they will be kicked out from the board of directors. The situation can occur in the other company or institution if someone has the mindset like there is no other solution, there is no other way to solve the problem other than following the instruction of superiors even if the matter has violated the law involving the emergence of fraud cases. Thanks a lot, Pastor Ravi, for the conclusion.
From all of this, we can conclude that the Tyco International case exemplifies what it means to the book of the books. The CEO has violated international control principles that should be followed by all the parties. He has spent company funds on personal items such as antiques and furniture for himself, as well as furnishing his own apartment. Internal audit departments must monitor the problems of aggressive accounting and improper auditing by auditors. Management control is an internal control that can be used to address this issue. The company culture and attitude toward the importance of maintaining control are shaped by the board of the directors and executive management. So that's all from us. Thank you.